Okay, so here we are. It's episode 3 of Ring Talk 12, the Unsung Hero edition. And today we've got something special. We've got a gentleman that, without this gentleman in boxing, probably boxing wouldn't be the way it is. He must have signed over 1,000 boxers in his life as a boxing manager. Probably spent far too much money on boxing that he'd care to share with us. But he's an absolute legend in boxing, and he's been at it a very long time. Helped an awful lot of people realise a lot of dreams. Very, very pleased to say that we've got Mr. Steve Woods with us today. Steve, it's great to see you.
Yeah, nice to have you down there, Jonathan, on a dark, cold night in November in, Astley we're in now, Manchester, aren't we? I'm a Salford lad, really, but working in Astley at the moment, mate. So, yeah, appreciate you coming down on a late evening.
Well, listen, it's appreciated that you're here to tell us your story. Now, before we start, we've got to say a big, massive thank you to Hype Energy Drinks. They've sponsored the podcast. Without them, this wouldn't happen. So we want to thank them for letting us get people to tell us their stories. The unsung heroes need to be heard, and without Hype, this podcast wouldn't happen. So thank you very much to Hype. So, Steve, let's delve into the world of Steve Woods. Very briefly, take us back to how it all began as a child, where you grew up, and how school was, and that sort of era of your start, I guess.
Yeah, well, I was actually born in Failsworth. Not many people know because I'm like a Salford lad, but my mum and dad were both from Oldham, and after I was born, 12 months later, they bought a newsagents on Leicester Road in Salford 7. So that's where I spent all my youth. First school I went to was North Grecian Street, which is a bit further away. But from there, I should have been going on to Salford Grammar, but it was the year that they changed what did they call it?
When criteria.
The actual the roles in school. They used to have like a clever school which was Salford Grammar, and then they had the dummies that went to like North Salford, or Cromwell as it was near me at the time as well, and they stopped it. They went wherever they was, so that everybody went to the local school. So with me being on Leicester Road, I didn't go to Salford Grammar. We went to the local school, which was North Salford. So that's where I went from 11 to 16-year-old. So all my life as a kid was spent around Salford, and I wasn't the greatest at school, but I wasn't bad. I was just probably above average, and sport was a passion of mine, and I was playing everything. Football, cricket, never boxing, believe it or not, because they didn't do it at school. And probably I'd like to think, even though I wasn't the smartest in the classes, I knew enough. I was smart enough not to go and get people punching in my head. But my dad used to go out watching Muhammad Ali on the pictures in town and come back and talk about it. And I remember times sat on his knee watching Ali on Parkinson and watching the big fights with him as well. I even remember watching Man United in the 68 European Cup final when I would have been 7, So
you actually are a proper Man United fan.
Oh, yeah. I'm Salford, aren't you?
Salford or London Salford. Is one of the two, isn't
it? Yeah, but no, so sports have always been passion, tennis, cricket, played everything, yeah.
Well, you mentioned that you used to go to the cinemas to watch Muhammad Ali. I mean, there are very few people around now that used to do that. I mean, that must have been an amazing experience.
No, my dad used to go.
Your dad?
Then he'd come back and tell me about it, yeah.
Right.
And, I think he used to use it as an excuse to have a few bevies as well, because sometimes my mum had to open the shop at 5 o'clock in the morning because he hadn't come back yet. So,
oh, God.
Yeah, but no, there were good memories, and, that was probably my earliest memory into boxing, and I absolutely adored Ali when I watched him on the Parkinson and, talking the way he did and doing everything. He was brilliant, yeah.
He was. I noticed a few pictures around of Ali as well. He was certainly an inspiration for any kind of boxer, and still is to this modern day, isn't he?
Yeah.
So listen, Salford lad through and through. Did okay at school. What happened then? Where did you go? What did you do?
Well, when I got to 16, I didn't really know what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and I didn't like have any aspirations to be a policeman, to be a teacher, to be a solicitor.
Yeah.
I only wanted to earn money, because I used to like going out even when I was 16. I'd be going in the pubs and things like that.
Never in Salford.
And you know what? I just wanted to have a laugh when I was younger, and
Yeah.
to have a laugh, you had to earn money so you could go out. And I just wanted to get a job where I could earn enough money to have good weekends. And my dad
Yeah.
had always brought me up that you've got to work, and I wanted to work. And I remember writing away for a few jobs. One was to get into insurance at the CIS, which never happened.
Yeah.
But I wrote away and got an interview to work for an engineering merchant, as an assistant to the MD.
Right.
And went down, got accepted, and that was me starting my working life. Yeah.
Wow, as an engineer.
Well, it wasn't as an engineer; it was as
an assistant
to the MD. And to be fair, the first week I went down there to be his assistant, he went on holiday, so they stuck me in the sales office.
Right.
And when they come back, he asked me what I was doing. I said, "Oh, it's in the sales office, just taking a few orders and things." He said, "You taking orders?" So I said, "Yeah." He didn't believe me, so he brought the sales director, and he said, "Yeah, he's been in there answering the phones and taking orders." And he just turned around and said, "Well, if you can do that within a week with no training, you wasted being an assistant for me. Stick in the sales." And so that
was the start.
How it all started, as me being like a salesman, which is what basically I still am now, apart from that it's my own business, and I've got like over 40 people working for me on the engineering merchant side. And as I say, that was it would have been, it was 61, it would have been 1977 when I started there, and then in 85 I left and set up my own business all on my own. I'd saved a few £1,000 up, rented a little office, was on my own for a few years. Then I moved from Strangeways to Moston.
Right.
I had offices in there.
Hang on, Strangeways, you weren't inside doing that, were you? Come on.
I could have been if it was caught, but no. Some offices near Strangeways was my first place, and then we had a little bit of a stores after a year. I started stocking things. Went up to Moston, had 1 unit, and he had 2 units.
Yeah.
And then I went back to the company that I used to work and bought them out. So we've come back into Salford, into a 6,000 square foot unit, and then.
So you went back to where you started and bought them out?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been some day of a sense of achievement there, definitely.
Do you know what? It was just natural progression, really. We'd been getting bigger, they'd been getting smaller. The person that had fell out with there was no longer there, and I got on really well with the new MD from when I left there. And I don't want to say it was a cry for help, but she knew that I could go back and help them. And they'd got to the stage where it
was time to change.
Yeah, and so it was natural progression from both sides, and it worked out well for us all. And then from there, we bolted them into our business and grew again, and been moved into this place now. So we've gone from 6,000 to 20,000 square foot. Since then, I bought a place in London. So we operate out of London there now, and we're actually getting containers outside here now because we're full up in stock, and I can't believe the growth of it. And my biggest thing is we're actually own branding now, so we sell valves with a VIP brand, and that's what I really want to work on. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, a whistle top sort of overview there. I mean, that's a phenomenal rise. From a lad from Salford, all of a sudden going back, buying out the place that you started in that gave you that sales job, to where you are now. I mean, people can't see where you are now, but we'll put some visuals up.
Yeah.
It's a cracking place. I mean, it's a huge place.
Yeah. Well, as I say, when we come here, I said to myself, this will probably be the last thing, because we'll never ever fill it. But we've already filled it, and we've got loads of visions to improve. And as I say, the fact that we're own branding now, I see as my biggest achievement, as well as like keeping people in work during many recessions. And I think we're probably going to go through one again now.
I think we're just starting, aren't we?
Yeah, and a lot of planning that we do as a business to make sure we overcome these recessions and actually come out stronger. And the own brand, I keep repeating it, is what's going to do it for us. And we work tirelessly as a team to get there. And we're obviously going to talk about the boxing, but this business has been a big funder of the boxing, because there's not many people, including the boxers, who make a good living out of boxing.
Yeah.
And I've put more in than I've took out. Obviously, over the next few years, we can hopefully swing it round on it there. But
you've been saying that for a few years,
yeah,
mate.
yeah. And listen, I always say no regrets, because you choose what you do, and you've got to take the rough with the smooth. But I mean, I've had some great times in boxing as well as I've had bad times, and as I'm getting older now, I'm in for the good times, not the bad times. Yeah,
sounds like a good plan.
Mm.
I mean, what a phenomenal story so far to get your business at that point. And you mentioned about your own brand. I want to keep the boxing side to the side for a minute.
Yeah.
What made you decide as a businessman that your own brand was how your business would evolve?
Well, the easy decision was that, selling other people's brands, the margins wasn't in it to grow as we wanted to do as a company. There's a lot of people do what we do, but they don't do it as good as us. They're not as efficient as us. The service levels aren't as good. They don't have a full structure that we've got. It's something that I've made sure that we've invested in people, so that when we grow, that we could still give the service that we did. And the margins that was left for us for other people's products is just simply not
small,
not enough to finance the running of the business as we do it. So we had to do something to change it. Otherwise, it'd have been going back into the devil, and just making enough money to get by, and probably having to lay people off to do it. So we thought the smart way was to make ourselves important, and the brand that we're building now, and we're doing a lot of work with the university to get ourselves into a position where we can get specified as consultants. We'll be saying use the VIP equipment, rather than we're having to change at the moment. We have to kind of give technical appraisals so that people will change from one spec to ours. So the future for us is to make sure that the VIP brand is coming out on specifications, and the margins then's improved, and it'll just make it healthier for everybody, and we still compete at a very competitive price.
I mean, there's not many employers thinking like that. You touched before that there's definitely a recession on the way. Regardless of what happens in the next 18 months with the government and the elections, there's definitely a recession. It's not hard to see, but you've got a track history, a track record of kind of swimming upstream at that point. Like, for example, COVID, you weren't getting rid of boxers at that point, you were signing them.
There's a lot of amateurs who wanted to turn professional then, because things were bad in the amateur code. And I mean, I told a lot of them not to, just to wait, and they wasn't having it. And I've not been one for wanting to take fighters on over the last 4 to 5 years, but one thing I always talk about is commitment, and I see commitment as a two-way stretch, which a lot of people don't. And I sometimes used to. I don't get upset now like I did when fighters don't show a loyalty with you when you've done good things for them. I've got a certain number of trainers that have always brought the kids to me, and they've been bringing to me over the last few years.
So you trust them?
Just saying, look, Steve, we don't want to take them anywhere else. Sign these on. So I know now from the trainers I've got that they won't bring me bad fighters, and that's one thing that I've got to really focus on now, especially as we want to grow the boxing to another level. Is make sure that the kids that we bring are going to do something, because it's a waste of time for everybody, because even though it's a sport, it's a business as well, and it's a hurtful business, not just as a fighter getting hurt, but for your pocket. And when I say that, I mean it for fighters, trainers, maybe managers, it's not so bad, particularly if you take them on the road, but that's something that we've never done in 27 years. I do have fighters that will go out and fight away from home, but they go to win. And
there's no journeyman fighters.
I'm not taking people on the road to get beat up and take some money off them. It's not for us there. So it's not. If we're getting involved with fighters now, we'd like to think that English level is going to be the worst thing that we get. And I know how hard it is to make world champions. I've been doing it 27 years and just had 2. I know people who've been doing it 40 years and never had a European champion. So I know how difficult it is, but I'd like to think we've got the makings of 3 or 4 other world champions before my number's up.
Well, we're going to talk about how boxing became part of your life. We're going to take a very, very quick break for our sponsors, Hype. Okay, so we're back after the hype break. So, Steve, look, you've got a successful engineering business. You've always kind of been in that field, but we're here because you're incredibly well known in the boxing world, and your shows. I mean, you've had 259 shows in your career. How did you start to get into boxing? I guess from a 16-year-old apprentice to now.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I've always been a big boxing fan. I used to go to all the shows. Even I was talking to Henry Warrington the other week, and my dad took me up to York to watch him there. And I remember going to watch Carl Crook at Preston Guildhall with my dad. And I'd actually been to a show at the GMX one night, and I called in a local pub in Salford the day after the Sunday session, and ended up chatting with Steve Foster. Who had seen around the pub, but I didn't really know him that well. And I'd been to the GMX the night before, and I bought my ticket off a guy who'd been working on the building site at the new house I'd bought in Trinity Way down near Salford. And I went to watch him, unbeknown that he was fighting Steve Foster. Obviously, with me being a Salford lad, I wanted Steve to win and not the kid who bought the ticket off. Didn't really know him. And it was mad that I bumped into Steve the day after, and I said, I watched the fight last night, got chatting to him, and Steve was explaining that he'd been invited to Tenerife to go and spar Nigel Benn, but he wasn't sure he was going to go because they wasn't paying for his trainer. And I just said, wow, Steve. I said, I don't mind paying for Billy Graham to go over there. And I started sponsoring Steve, and from there, me and Steve become really good friends, and he then used to take me out on nights at the Piccadilly Sporting Club in town with the black tie suits, and I met loads of people that I wouldn't have done but for Steve, and it was a world that I'd never been on. I didn't even know they were doing those shows in town. There was like 400 people at the Piccadilly Hotel on a Monday night, and they were absolutely fantastic. And then he'd invite me to the weigh-ins. I got to meet some other boxers there, and I was like in a world that fascinated me. And
it's addictive, isn't it?
Really, yeah, it is. And we always say it's an illness, but you can't take tablets to get rid of it. It's mad. And then me and Steve just got chatting. He was obviously a big ticket seller. I used to sell a lot of tickets from the time, and where he was training, there was people on contract with TVs, but not fighting. And so me and Steve said, we'll do a show at the Willows in Salford.
That was your first one?
Yeah. So we just did that, and, from there, it's just grown and grown, from doing the shows and getting people work. He was saying, will you manage me? My manager's not doing anything for me, and, I want to fight on your shows. And and it just grown from then. And obviously, probably 28 years in now, and I'm still learning. And it is a sport where things happen that you can't foresee. And obviously, I'm a lot wiser and I know a lot more than I did then. But still learning.
I mean, you must have had through your shows in the last 20 odd years thousands and thousands of boxers. These boxers, they don't. They're at the beginning of their career. A lot of these guys, because you're giving them an opportunity, so that's why they come into your show, because your shows are actually some of the only shows that give decent boxers opportunities. What's it like when you find a little gem and you go, wow, okay, this guy could be good?
You know, we talk about getting a buzz, don't we, from boxing, and I think that's one of the best buzz where you think, oof, he's come to us at VIP and we're going to do something with him there, because all the guaranteed kids who are coming out of the GBs go and sign with Eddie and Frank Warren, and I remember when I signed Scott Fitzgerald and he come out of the GBs, and that was a different pressure to what normally we do. We kind of get the kids who are unheard of, but for me, I always believe talking to pros who spar them is the best way of finding out they can fight. And Jamie Moore was one of those that when he comes to me and Steve, we'd heard all the stories in the gyms, lads sparring, saying, look, he's good him, but he was never an ABA champion and never fought for England. But me and Steve knew that he was going to be good, but you had to do a lot of work to get him to where he was. But when Scott Fitzgerald come, as I say, it was a different thing, because it was like, if you don't make a minimum British or maybe European champion at someone at that level, you failed. And that, as I say, was a pressure that we've not had before, because you're bringing people along that no people really know of, and there's no financial backing behind it. You've got no sponsors chucking money in, you've got no TV giving you any sort of revenue. You're doing it through yourself and what the lads can sell in tickets. So it's different pressure from knowing that you've got someone who's going to do something. But that's where the buzz comes, and then it's like all of a sudden you're getting people, oh, can I do a promotional deal with him, which has been my biggest asset, really, because of the commercial pressures I'm under here in the engineering and having to deal with contracts. It's something where I'd like to think I've been a bit more cute than other people who represent boxers, in the fact that and again, I've made mistakes. I'm not saying that, but I think we're way in advance of what other people are signing contracts. Or my job at the moment is obviously to develop them on our own shows, with the hope that they're going to get a promotional contract to go on the TV shows, because that's the only way they're going to make money, or we're going to make money. Or in fact, the trainers are as much as a part of it as the managers, and I always say from the start, they're taking 10% of nothing really. So we've got to make a success of it, so that your champions are earning good money, and they can take a 10%, and we can take a 10%, and then the boxers have still got a nice lump of money to hopefully one day pay the mortgage off and have a house paid for when they come out of boxing. And there's not many people to get that level. And then, as I say, we've had 2 world champions, and, they've gone on to have enough money in the bank where they wouldn't have to work. And, that's a visualisation for everybody, but very, very few achieve it.
Yeah. And I think from when you started doing your shows, back in the day to now, that it's massively changed, hasn't it, boxing? That there's a perception now in the modern day that boxers, if they're on a show, are earning thousands and thousands of pounds, and it's simply not true, is it?
No, on the TV shows, there's still kids on ticket deals to get on there, and I think on the small hall shows like mine,
See, I don't like that word, by the way, small hall shows, because some of the best boxing are on the smaller shows.
Yeah.
And there's probably nowadays in the modern world, for example, I won't say which promoter it was, but I was at a show recently in a big arena that had 4,000 people in it, and it was a TV show. Some of these shows that you guys put on have got 2,000 people in, 2,500 people in. So you can't call yourself small shows anymore. I don't think you should anyway.
Well, we still do them in like little sports centres with
Well, yeah, of
700
course.
people in as
Of
well.
course,
So
but
listen, they're known as small hall shows, and with it not being a TV show, I think that's one of the things
that's
we
where it
do.
comes
But
from.
we've got lovely venues like the Bolton Whites. We go four
Yeah.
times a year, which again Channel 5 are doing regular shows there, and I help out with them. And my favourite one of them all is the Winter Gardens in Blackpool, which I was doing for many years when I had some Blackpool fighters, and then we've not been back till last year. But now I've signed some really good talent over there, and it's given me the opportunity to go to Winter Gardens, and not just me. I think the punters and everyone who comes there just gets so excited when they get there, because it's a beautiful venue, and as I say, we've got some talent there now, and it makes them special nights. So yeah, we do a mixture. I went up to Durham with some of my Geordie lads 4 months ago, and we're going to go back there 2 times in 2024, because we've expanded out to take on some lads from Sunderland and Newcastle, and that's a nice big venue they want to build up on as well. So we started to stream live on certain shows, and where our talent is, we're going to do that and get them seen, and maybe one day we'll get a TV deal, which is the only thing that really I've missed out on. I've done loads of work on the TV shows with people, and I just feel that if it was ever given the opportunity, we could make it so much better. Not just our shows, but when you look at what goes on the TV and the money they get, and the sponsorship that comes in as well from being on the TV, we could do a lot better than the others, in my opinion. But you'll never know until we get to that stage.
We're just diversing a little bit from what I want to talk about, which is obviously the shows. But do you think that in the modern world now, the TV companies are all going to go streaming, because that seems to be where the vast audience is coming from now?
Well, I mean, Box Nation come along, didn't they? And whether they were too early or not, didn't they? But I think they went bump for circa £10 million. So it might have been too early then. DAZN have come in now. They're losing lots of money if you look at the accounts, but obviously they've got a big investment from the Russian fella, so he won't be that daft where he's just keeping chucking money in and want to turn it around. So they'll have a vision that it's going to come through, and as I say, you've got your BT and your Sky, which are still classed as TV platforms rather than the streaming. So I think there'll be a mixture of it, and
BBC iPlayer, they've started to stream some boxing, haven't they?
Yeah. Do you know what? I've not watched one yet. I mean, they're doing it very much on a low key thing, aren't they? Yeah. But if they start getting the numbers, I believe Talk Sport have streamed a show recently. So
they've just signed a deal with that promoter, haven't they?
Oh right, okay. Well, if they start getting numbers, maybe they'll be able to put some money into it. I mean, we've been approached in the past, and I actually did one on sporty stuff. But they reneged on what they were supposed to be paying me, and they dropped me in the cart a little bit. I mean, I had to pay production costs, which they promised to pay, and they said they was giving me some money towards a top of the bill worthy fight, which had already done, and they didn't do that. So sometimes you got to be careful what you
wish for,
you promised, and what you're supposed to get, and I don't think people understand how hard and difficult it is for the boxing. I think this Saudi stuff that's coming along is going to be massive for certain fighters, and it's only good.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit in a minute, but I think now I'd like to talk about some of your favourites. Obviously, through a career that spanned 20 or 25 odd years, you've had an awful lot of boxers come through your hands. Some made it, some didn't. Forget the big famous ones for a second. What about some of the lads and girls that have come to you at the lower ends and maybe haven't made it, but have still kind of changed their lives through boxing with you? Who sort of stands out to you?
That's a difficult one, that, and I don't like naming names, because you end up upsetting somebody. Like I've done a couple of these before, Jonathan, and like you may name people's names and you forget other ones, and it's, oh, why did you forget about me? I was a better fighter than him. I done better for you, and so it's best that I don't name names. But yeah, you're right in the fact that
Boxer A and Boxer B. How
yeah,
about that?
yeah. Do you know what we've done, and not just boxers, people involved in boxing are all characters.
Yeah.
And as I said at the start of this, I've had some great times, and I've had some good dealings with characters, but they're not characters that you'd want to do business with, really, under normal circumstances. Even though, you know, the way I look at it is, they're the sort of people I'd love to go to the pub with and have a drink with, but they're not the sort of people that you want to do business with. Yeah, and what I would say on that as well is, like, now there's a new lot of people getting involved in boxing who were not very nice characters. They don't know much about boxing. You know, the old guys that you class as characters, they were boxing nuts, you know, and they've been in the business for years, and they knew about things and they appreciated things, and they just weren't business people. But now you've got people coming in who've got no idea about boxing, and, you know, you have boxers who are signing for managers who are clueless, and you know, it's just making the job so hard now. I mean, I speak with boxing people who are in the game, a bit younger than me, but been in a long time, like Steffi Bull and Carl Greaves, and, you know, they've learnt the trade the proper way. All of a sudden, they've got people coming in, competing against them and taking fighters over that they were looking after, and like I've been looking after. And they're just whispering down people's ears, and, you know, they're what we call the Facebook managers. You know, they're like poaching kids over Facebook and promising them this, and, you know, they don't get it, and then the kids want to come back to you, and, you know, it's one thing I've said I'll never ever do again is take fighters back who's left once, and I wouldn't do, and you know, it takes out a little bit of the fun and the enjoyment out of the sport, and I can only see it getting worse. I mean, I'm not a lover of the Boxing Board of Control, and you know, they're giving licenses to people, and when I just say managers, I don't just mean promoters, matchmakers who don't know what they're doing. You know, you're giving licenses to trainers who don't know what they're doing.
That's been particularly bad in the last 18 months. You know, matchmaking's been awful.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I have to be careful what I say, you know.
Yeah, of course. Of course, we want to get you in trouble.
It's like,
from our point of view.
Yeah. If you look at the TV shows, and when we're sat here now, they've just been the Magnificent Seven at the MEM, which Queensbury Promotions done, and it was a fantastic
great show.
And unfortunately, we've not been able to come in on a Monday and say, well, that was a great show on at the weekend, and, you know, the one that Sky did, Boxer, on Saturday in Wolverhampton, wasn't bad either, you know. But normally when we come in a Monday, more regular than not, we turn around saying what a poor show it was, and like he's saying, then the matchmaking's been bad, and, you know, it needs to get better to grow the sport, and hopefully Saturday night was one where we're going to build on and make it more competitive. And although I'm to blame on some of our shows, I mean, what you got to think about is that on our shows, the boxers aren't getting paid a lot of money.
No,
so you don't want to be putting them in 50-50 fights on our shows to develop so they can get on the bigger shows where they're paid well and then have the 50-50 fights. So, you know, I'd like to turn around and say, well, maybe I've got an excuse for some of our matches, but, you know, a lot of them are still more competitive than what you're seeing on the TVs. And, you know, we're matching kids, as we said before, who are coming out of the amateurs with not particularly great CVs. So, you know, we're matching them at lower level in a more competitive fight. The kids who are coming from the GBs don't need the sort of matches that they're getting now.
They've already had them, haven't they?
Yeah. You know, especially those who's been in that WSB, you know, 5-3 rounders. You know, you look at some of them. There's been fighting Lamanchenko and people like that. You know, that Sam Maxwell fought him 2 times, I think. You know, so yeah, there's levels, and the level we're at will take a bit longer for the kids to come through. But if we're working with the right trainers and we develop them right, and the matchmakers doing the job right, you know, they can become champions. And like I say, there's more enjoyment making a champion from someone who wasn't expected to be one, and changing and help change their lives, than it is for someone who's coming out of the GB squads, and they should be champions. Yeah.
Just before COVID, I think it's publicised. I mean, people who know you, people who knew that you were unwell. You had I think, 2 heart attacks. That must have been a pretty tough time, especially running a business and a boxing company. What was that time like for you?
Yeah, it was difficult. I actually had 2 strokes, and
Right.
then I was suffering. I knew there was something wrong with me. I've been to the doctors. They said I was okay, and then I just thought there's something really wrong here. And I actually went into hospital, and they put me on a running machine test, and all of a sudden all the bleeps gone off and everything like that. Get off there, get off.
Yeah.
The doctor come running in. The next thing I know, I was put on a wheelchair, and took to the heart surgery place, and
Blimey.
they operated me on the day after, and I'd had what they call angina, which was a blockage in me blood veins running to my heart, and when I was on the machine, they said I was about 10 seconds away from having a massive heart attack.
Oh.
So I was quite lucky in that there.
Very much so.
I was took up, and then I was operated on the next day, and I've had a couple of stents put into me, and you know, I was home within 24 hours of that.
Really?
It was an unbelievable experience. You know,
That quick?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
It was amazing. They actually kept me awake, and you could see on the screen how they was going into
I don't think I'd want to watch that.
your veins, and putting the thing down. And you know, the comforting thing for me was that the 2 strokes I'd suffered beforehand, they didn't know why, and we was a bit worried of why I was having them, but because of the angina problem, it come pretty clear then afterwards. The blood, which was obviously causing the heart attack, blocked because the blood wasn't flowing properly in the heart.
Okay.
It was obviously stopping the oxygen getting to my brain as well, which was the root cause for the stroke. So to be honest, I obviously felt a lot better afterwards because of the stents being fitted and the blood flowing properly. So I felt well, healthily, you know, in my body, but in my mind, I was a lot better because I knew why the strokes were as well. So to be fair, it was a double whammy for me. It saved me having a massive heart attack, and it cleared me mind. And you know, for a while, you do refocus and think about things, and you start eating healthier and drinking less. But as time goes on, you get back into your old ways, don't you?
A little bit,
overworking, probably drinking too much, and you know, eating the wrong food. But you know, I'm pretty conscious on that, and I'm in a fortunate position where I've got a little place over in Portugal, and once a month I go for at least 3 or 4 days just to relax and get ready for the madness. Because you know, I'm probably working minimum 12 hours a day. You know, probably more. So 3 out of the 5 days, Monday till Friday, and then Saturdays and Sundays, you know, I'm either boxing, football, or I'm in work as well. You know, it is a passion of mine, working, and I blame my dad for bringing me up like that. Yeah.
Was there ever a point where you thought, you know what, I need to just stop, or was that never on the table?
Do you know? I think we touched on it before. Is a commitment being a two-way things, and I think it's an easy option for me to just turn around and say stop, and I could justify it in many ways to do it, but I've always felt that, you know, if people have put a bit of trust in me, I need to
do it
make sure that I fully commit to them, and you know, I'd look at that whether that a fighter who might be a central area at an English level, or a fighter who we think might go to European or world, that I owe them to do my best for them, and that's something I've done. And as I say, it will get to a stage where I know that I need to stop managing people, but I am putting a process into place where someone can get involved and
help you along the way.
Yeah, and take the pressures off that I've got, and work with me, and I can give them guidance, and knowing that they'll do the right things for the boxers as well, which is the main thing. You know, like there's not many people who could trust in boxing. But as I say, can't really tell you too much about it now. But I have got plans for the future, which will probably be announced early next year, where we're going to have some sort of investment and other people involved in VIP, which for me,
that's amazing.
Will make sure that the boxers' futures, and not just the ones that sign with me now, but will sign with VIP, and I'll have some involvement still in it, will be looked after. And that's one of the good things that I can say I come away with boxing, is that, you know, that we've always done right by the fighters, and, you know, we go more over the line, you know, getting the ones who are making money, accountants, and, you know, working with solicitors on the contracts, and making sure that they invest right for the future.
The whole package.
So we do more than most, and I've been lucky enough to have a few boxers that have got into that situation. But you know, the thing is, moving forward, that I'm going to bring people involved who can still do that, and you know, I'm not saying we're going to leave a legacy behind, because, like,
I was about to say that
the unsung hero and everything like that. I mean, I don't see itself that. It's just something that I've always done, whether it's in boxing, social, with friends, business, with acquaintances, as they say. You know, like, we like to think we do it in the honourable and the right way. And I'm not saying we don't make mistakes, but we certainly don't make mistakes on purpose. You know, we're doing things what we believe to be in the right way. Yeah, and, you know, one of the good things that I'd say about me is, you know, when they ever talk about the gentleman in boxing and people they can trust, you know, I think my name pops up alongside John Wishusen, and you know, he's similar to me. You don't see him jumping in the ring and doing this and doing that. And, you know, I've got a kid called James Russell who nobody knows, and he's probably the most knowledgeable person in boxing, and nobody knows him.
Nobody knows who he is.
You know, maybe that's a fault of mine, that I've not jumped on the cameras and jumped in the ring and promoted myself better than I could have done, and we've not got a TV deal out of it. But that's something that I'm not, and so I don't really want to be one of these people that are full of themselves. And to me,
you're definitely not like that.
They look like, I mean, I don't want to say what they look like, but, you know, that's them, and it's not me. And, you know, I can't, what do they say, turn milk into champagne, and, you know what I mean, if I've got a pint of milk, it's a pint of milk. I'm not going to tell you it's a bottle of champagne, you know, but some promoters do that, don't they?
The COVID time was a terrible time for the whole country. No one had ever been through anything like that before. It was different to anything we'd ever known. Most businesses kind of cut back and did as little as possible. But I know for a fact that you were the opposite. You looked after everybody that worked for you. You looked after the boxers. You were signing boxers during that period. Just tell us, when COVID hit, obviously the first worry would be, well, I can't do any shows. How am I going to get boxers work? How am I going to continue on? What sort of thought process did you go through in that period, and how did you cope with it?
Well, COVID was very strange, and, like, when you look back at it now, you can't believe it, can you? You know, if someone would have said to you 10 years ago that in 5 years' time you're not going to be allowed out of the house, and you've got to queue up to go shopping, there'll be only this and allowed in, all the pubs are shut, all the restaurants are shut, you know, and lots worse. You can't go to doctors, you know, in the hospital. It's like you just wouldn't believe it. But, you know, for us, on the engineering side here, because we was involved with the building contractors who were one of the only people allowed to work, we still had a temporary staff in.
So you're able to operate.
I think something like 75% of the staff didn't work, and we did it in a shift because we managed to pay them full anyway. I know we helped a lot by the government, and so they was all at home, and they all got paid, and we shuffled around because, you know, like, you'd only allowed 2 in the office where normally you'd have 10, you know, and it was strange and difficult. But we also do a lot of work for, like, the hospitals and the food processing and the chemical plants. So, you know, they were open, and we needed to service them. So, you know, we did remain open on a skeleton staff and get through that, albeit a lot more quieter than it would have been. And, you know, one of the mad things that come, because when we touch about the boxing takes a lot of my time, and I try and allocate it so that it's mainly done at night, So I'm doing me like 7 in the morning till 5 o'clock on my engineering, and then I'll do 5 till 9 till 10 on the boxing. And sometimes, obviously, you've got to do things during the day and do it like that. But because there was no boxing on, and for the first time, there was no boxing on full stop, was there? Even the TV promoters weren't doing it for a while. It
was the odd show as it went on. But
yeah. So that part of it was quiet. And because I was quiet and I didn't know what to do, I started looking at outside the box, and they actually did the deal for buying a business out in London, which was madness because I didn't have the time. But during COVID, it was quiet, and I thought, I'll program this so this works and all that. So I ended up buying a business in London in COVID. So I ended up with more work to do, and it was strange. And like a lot of the boxers were going through a bad period in the amateurs and wanted to turn pro, and they come to see me. I didn't recommend that they turn pro, but a lot of boxers were that cheesed off with the amateurs that they wanted to turn pro. So 18-year-olds very young to turn pro, but I did sign quite a few young kids over that. And part of my job now, as they're saying about commitments, is to make sure that they fight at the regular thing at the level that they're there for, and we nurture through. And it's going to take an 18-year-old longer than it would do a 24-year-old. So it's obviously that it is going to take longer, but it's something I enjoy. Try to make a career for young lads.
So listen, all this experience, you've mentioned that you've had a couple of world champions. One of those, of course, is Mr. Warrington, Josh Warrington. I mean, he's had an absolutely phenomenal career, and you've always said when Josh retires, you're going to stop signing boxers. Is that day coming soon?
Well, he is coming to the end, isn't he, Josh? But I think there's 1 or 2 big fights for him.
I hope so.
Yeah, it is coming. Everything good comes to an end, doesn't it? And I just know, like, last time I think he was ever so unlucky not to be a three times world champion. Reasons behind that, one of them mainly being the referee, but, I'm not one of those who won't make excuses. But, congratulations to Lee Wood. He looked out of there, and as he has done in the past, he found a punch and changed it round. So, you can't just say it was unlucky, Josh. It was well done to Lee Wood. But, there's talk of a rematch with that. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But, certainly from my position as the manager of Josh, and, it has been one of the greatest things that's happened to me in the boxing, looking after Josh from his first fight, hopefully to his last. I'd like to make an happy ending for him, because they did the film on him, which ended in being a world champion, winning it at Ellen Road in front of a packed audience against Lee Selby, and it stopped there, and it was a perfect film with a perfect ending. And unfortunately, he's had 3 out of 4 losses at the end there, but there's been reasons behind him. He's been unlucky one way, but he's been lucky in another way because he's always got big fights off the back of him, and because of his support, it means that he is in a position where he'll still get big fights, and I think he's still got it in him to win a big fight, and maybe another one after that. So I'm hoping that I can guide him into the way that me and him can shake hands and say it's been a great ride and it was a great ending. I certainly don't want him to go out on a loss like he has done. But, if he decided that's what he wanted to do, I'd fully understand it and say we still had a great ride anyway. It's just that I'd like to think that there's going to be something there to make it a better one, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I was at that fight, his last fight, and you were on the top table with Eddie. And when he was mentioning, maybe the City ground in Nottingham, you were like, yeah, let's do that, Eddie. Let's shake on it now. Is that something is that fight? Do you think that's the one that Josh really wants?
Well,
great occasion.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the fight that Lee Woods needs as well. Certainly if you're going to go to a football stadium, you need a dance partner to help sell it out. And I can't see a better one than Josh. And to be honest with you, I'm a bit frustrated that it's not already been done and announced that, but it's something I'm pushing for. But there's going to be a time scale where I've got to turn around and say, well, look, if you're not delivering it, we'll have to move on, and we'll move on to wherever we've got to move on if we can.
Yeah.
But he can't be dragged on. But as I say, I think it's something that Lee Wood needs and Josh wants, and
I think it's
it
something
should
that
happen.
people
Yeah,
want as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
of course it is. Yeah, yeah.
That's a cracking. And when was the last time we actually saw a big football stadium full of people boxing in England? Not very often this year or the last year at all.
Yeah.
And I think people would come from all over the country for that fight.
Yeah, well, as I say, it takes a mega event to sell a football stadium out, and I think on the way that ended and what had happened for the 6 rounds of the fight, people know they're going to see a good fight there between two competitive fighters that's going to give their all, and they're happy to go and support it, and I think that's what we need, isn't it? And certainly with Josh, he needs to go out on a big fight, and as I say, hopefully a win, which wouldn't be guaranteed against Lee Wood, which is what we were saying before about competitive fights, what the public want to see.
One of the success stories of Steve Woods and VIP, of course, is your gym. And you've got Mr. Jamie Moore and Mr. Nigel Travis down there. I mean, that's, without sounding rude, that's a dream team that they're hilarious, but they're so bloody good, aren't they?
Yeah, do you know what? They're good characters, and like when we talk about achievements, I think Jamie Moore was one of my better achievements as well. We had him from the first fight to the last fight, and he's become a really close friend now. Not just in the boxing, outside the boxing, although most of the time it's through boxing that I'm speaking with Jamie, but he's a big United fan like me, and we talk the football as well, and I become friends with the family, his wife and children, and his mum and dad, and they've got a big family of cousins and everything like that I know as well. So like Jamie's become a close friend, and obviously Nigel. And people forget about his boxing career. That he was a top amateur and turned over a bit late as a pro. And unfortunately, I had the experiences of doing that with Nigel as well. But what a wonderful guy! He'd do anything for you. And
salt of the earth.
Jamie's the same. He might just be a little bit tougher than Nigel, even though Nigel can stand up for himself at times, but definitely great characters.
A lot of people don't know Nigel's actually a fireman, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a fireman. Yeah.
And he mixes the fireman, obviously, doing his job with working with Jamie, and I mean that's not easy, is it?
No. We always say that he doesn't sleep. I think he says sleeping's for wimps. He says so he's like he's up to something all the time, and he is involved a lot in the pro boxing, but I think. He'd openly admit, his biggest achievement has been Moss Side Fire Station, which is in a rundown area, and he's brought a lot of kids off the street and give him some sort of focus, and he's been great. And the sort of guy he is, I didn't even know he got an MBE for that. Never mentioned it to me. Anything
he doesn't
like
mention
that,
it to anyone.
But, well, I mean that's fantastic, isn't it? To be honoured from the Queen at the time, he got it there, not the King. It's brilliant that they recognise what he's done, and I think everyone knows him for being like a bit of a clown around the gym, but he's much more than that, I can tell you. Yeah.
Well, I've been a victim to the debagging a couple of times, so you have to watch out when you go in the gym, don't you?
Yeah.
But I mean, Jamie's becoming now one of the best young coaches in the country. He's got obviously a great stable of people there. He's got Chantel Cameron, of course. He's got Jack Cattrall. There's a couple of others in the gym that are really starting to show their real true colours, and he's fast becoming one of the best coaches in the country, I think.
Yeah, he is. I think he's added one coach of the year once, hasn't he? And he's getting a good reputation, and it is him and Nigel. It's not just Jamie, him and Nigel, the team, and they're a great team, and they see the same things together, and I think he blames it on me, doesn't he, becoming a coach, because his boxing career had come to the end, and I knew he'd make a good coach, and I think he was just going to use the gym and do some PT in it, and then all of a sudden I needed a trainer for Tommy Carl. I said, do me a favour, we helped me out, and he did do. And then, the Tommy Coyle story, his history, didn't he? He had the up and downs with it, but he was always good fun with Tommy. And from that, it brought more fighters his way, and he's ended up being like a full-time professional boxing coach, doing very well at it. Yeah.
I mean, you must sort of pinch yourself every now and again that you've managed to, in your lifetime, achieve a very successful business, and you've got a world-class gym, sort of not stuck on the side, but developed in the same sort of location. I mean, it's an incredible achievement that you've done, Steve.
I never looked at it as that, you just get on and do things, don't you? And you try to improve yourself every day and improve other people's while you're doing it as well. And you say me and Jamie had the glove business for about 15 years as well, doing that, and we tried to get people to take that on and help. It just didn't work. But we was trying to help other people, and it's something that Jamie talks about a lot. If you can help other people while you're going along, why not? And that's what my philosophy is, and Jamie's, and as I say, Nigel's helped so many people at the Moss side, and continues to do it with amateur boxers, professional boxers, and it's all good. And the way we all look at it as well, if you can do something and you want to enjoy it while you're doing it as well, aren't you? And even though I've had like times with the boxing, you think why do it, and I've got to do this, and that's no good, and this isn't this, and that isn't that. He's like you end up just cracking on and doing it, and then even after shows which have not been bad shows, something good's come out of it. So you've got to look at the positives rather than the negatives. And as I said before, it'd been easy to call it a day at the boxing, but you crack on with it. And I'm sure that in the next 10 years, which I'll probably still be involved in the boxing, I'll have a load of good times, and I'll help other people that maybe wouldn't have achieved what you're going to achieve without me. And when we do come to the finale, that'll be something I'll be looking at and say, I did a lot of good for people, and hopefully they'll appreciate it.
I think they already do, mate, to be fair. Now, coming towards the end of the conversations, it's been absolutely fascinating, but something we haven't spoken about yet, but we've got to, is your love of Manchester United. So, of course, Zelfa boy. So, finally we found a fan that's a local fan. Tell us about United and your experiences with that love affair.
No, it's just something that being from Salford to become a United fan, and I've actually got some season tickets there with our names on it. Because I've had the season tickets over 40 years now. So
40 years.
Yeah, and
wow.
and I've been going probably 50 years. And now fortunate in a position where we've got some executive tickets. So I always go down, have a meal and a few beers, take customers or friends, and a bit like the boxing, you have your ups and downs. And I've had some of my best nights of my life following Manchester United, and I go back where I was living on Leicester Road, getting the number 1 bus down there at 12 o'clock, queuing for 2 hours to get in the Stretford end and watch the matches, and they were like unbelievable things. And we weren't a great successful team then, but we went on to have the Alex Ferguson era, which
changed your club.
When you look back now, how successful they were, and you was winning everything all the time, and watching people like Cantona and Keane and Giggs, Scholes, Beckham, and all the world class footballers we had there. I'm very privileged to have lived that. Going over to all the away matches in Europe, being there in Barcelona when we did the treble.
The 1999.
Yeah, 99.
You were there.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, that must have been amazing.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. I nearly missed it because I think we was in Lorette de Mar for a few days before, and was going on a coach, and the coach for whatever reason didn't come, so I had to go and hire a car. and obviously being away at football matches, drink is part of the occasion. So I'd hired a car after having a few beers, and then had a few more beers in Barcelona. Couldn't find my car, and
lost the car.
yeah, but it didn't really matter because we'd done the treble, and we got it back the day after. But no, absolute fantastic times, and we're going through bad times now. We've had some really good managers that you expected to turn it round. But everything in life is as cycles, doesn't it? They go up and down, and we're down at the moment. But hopefully, we're going to get some new investment in the club and get us back to our rightful place. And I don't know. It sounds like you're a City fan when you're having these pops as a local person following United, but at least we won them without cheating the rules. And I think in a few years' time, when it shows Man City treble winners and all that, it'll be X against them because they've done it against being rule breakers. So
I'll tell you what, I bet Ricky Hatton would have something to say about that.
Ricky knows. Ricky knows.
Well, actually, I'm a Crystal Palace fan, so we beat you quite a lot, but with a bogey team, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Manchester United, phenomenal era, and Sir Alex era was something I don't think we'll ever see again in modern football. I really don't.
Well, to be fair, Pep's not far behind him, is he? What he's doing, but his
Pep's buying his players, though.
Yeah, as I said, there's differences in how it's done. Yeah. But no,
sorry, Ricky.
We could always listen. We could always talk about boxing and football and said he should have done that, should have done this, he could have done that, we should have won that, and that VAR to me is just killing it at the moment. It was done to make things right, wasn't it? Because there's so much money involved, and unfortunately they're not getting it right. And when a goal scores now, you're waiting 5 minutes whether you can celebrate it or not. And no, it's taking out some of the enjoyment out of it. But I still go, and even when we lose, I know I'm back the next time there, and it's something that's been in my blood. And I've got my son, big United fan now, and he takes away matches now rather than me, so he's pulling the weight on the away tickets. But I've done my time following Man United all over the world, and as I say, I've had a privileged life. And that's been one of my privileges following Man United.
Modern day boxing, it's a little bit different now. And one of the things that we've noticed from going to all the big and the small shows is when there's an important fight particularly and the scorecards come into play, there seems to be an awful lot of adverse, I would call it adverse, results. Two referees are very, very close, and one's absolutely miles away the opposite way. And it's affecting, boxers and their careers because some of these results aren't going the way they should do. What do you think about that? It's a very, very grey area, but it's an area that needs to be addressed because carrying on going forward into boxing, something's got to be done about this.
Yeah, there's always an argument, and some fights are really close, and you can be subjective on what you like, and when they're that close, you can understand that they swing in one way or the other. But there's a lot of fights recently where they've not been close, yet people have got them wrong, and sometimes it's the same people getting them wrong. And what I personally think is the Boxing Board of Control are in charge of it, and know they have to do something about it, but don't. I think after the Jack Castle one, they did something with Ian John Lewis, which I believe's got a court now, and they say there was something on, I think on Channel 4, wasn't there, about victimisation and racist thing, which I think's a load of nonsense. I don't think for 1 minute the board are like that, but they really do need to look at the people who are regularly getting things wrong, and these people that us in the boxing world know are incompetent. I'm not saying that any of them are on the fiddle and taking bribes, as a lot of people suggest. I don't think for 1 minute that's happening. I think they're purely incompetent, and things like I've got boxers who want to be referees, and they're not letting them do it. It's like you've got to be an inspector for 3 or 4 years before you can be a referee, but you've still got the same incompetent referees. And recently, they're saying there was a lack of referees for me. I've had to pay for people to come up from London and put them in hotels, and they rip it off with the mileage. And it's hard. You don't make money on small hall shows, and like everyone says, why do you do it? And it's because it's an illness, isn't it? I've said that all along. There's no reason why you should really be doing it, but you do. And they're putting an extra burden on with your expenses and all that. They say they're not got enough read. Let these boxers and speak to people who used to manage the boxers so they know what sort of people they'd be a good referee, and let them become referees. They've been fighters. They know better than anybody. And I'm not saying that people who aren't a fighter can't be a good referee, but there's more chance of a fighter being a better referee than a non-fighter. I know in coaches there can be people who've not played football be a good coach, but more likely if you've played, you're going to be a better coach. And I just feel that when they get this bad apple, you need to get it out of the battle, or the battle can go bad. And there's bad, incompetent judges and referees, and they need to be cleaned up. And there should be some sort of a training program for them, and there should be some sort of system of how to score cards, because I don't think there's any training done on that. And I honestly feel there should be reviews, and people who are getting them wrong so often. And like you said there, it changes people's lives, doesn't it? And
100%.
We were talking the other day, and I'm not sure for the thing whether it would have changed Tyson Fury's life, but it certainly changed John McDermott's. John McDermott beat Tyson Fury, and they give the fight to Tyson Fury. Look where Tyson Fury is now, earning millions, and has earned multi-millions of pounds. And John McDermott's probably finished boxing without anything. And if that referee would have done his job right there, would Tyson have got to where he is now? He might have come back, because he's come back from worse things than losing the boxing fight.
Of course.
But it's possible that he might not have done. Would John McDermott gone on and earned the millions that Tyson has? Probably not, because he's not the character of Tyson. But that decision shouldn't have been made by an incompetent referee. And I think he's still going on now and still making the same sort of things. So, the board have got to look at that and turn around and say, look, we need to do a better job monitoring these people. They monitor the fighters in a way that they're putting them 100%. On remand and doing this and doing that. They should do it with the officials as well, because it's costing boxing a lot of fans as well. I mean, I've got people that don't watch boxing no more because they just think it's bent, and it's not bent. It's just
it's not.
Certain fights are wrong, and I'll see fights differently than some other people, and as I said, it is subjective. But when they're so clear a winner, it should be a winner and not a loser.
I think the bit where I have a problem is when the scorecards are just so far the wrong way. And like you've said, 1 or 2 rounds either way, you can take that. If it's a loss, it's a loss. It's one of the only sports in the world where an opinion makes the result. Everybody else has got electronics there or some rules there that make that result very, very transparent. Boxing is one of the only sports in the world where an opinion decides the result. I mean, we've got VAR in football. Do you ever think there'll be anything like that brought into boxing, considering the amounts of money at the top end that are now starting to come into it?
Yeah, I think the WBC did bring something back, didn't they? So they could check out on it. I forget what fight it was now where he got someone disqualified. I think it was Charlie Edwards,
but nothing else has happened since.
I can't remember it that well. As you say, probably because it's not been built upon and anything like that. And, I don't know what they could do. But as I say, if they got rid of the incompetent people, I think boxing could get back to where it was, which was a sport that everybody loves and everybody wants to watch. And at the moment now, the controversy is what's put a lot of people off the sport. And again, I mean, there's a lot of things in the sport that's going on that the people like me, the managers and promoters, feel the Boxing Board of Control are getting wrong, and nothing's happening about it. And I think it needs to be changed. And I don't think there's another sport that's not regulated, and they just do what they want. And I think that's something that's got to change.
Time for a refresh, maybe.
Yeah, and it is a monopoly, and I've heard it from the board themselves that if you want to be in our gang, you got to play by our gang's rules, and I think that's a bad attitude to have as well. And it is a monopoly. If they're doing a bad job, you can't. Like if I went to Tesco's and was overpricing me and giving me bad food, I wouldn't go back. I'd go to Morrison's or I'd go to Asda. You'd have a choice. But where we are now, we're getting a bad service, but you can't go anywhere. And having a monopoly, I think, is illegal as well. So I'm not saying that we should have loads of charges and they do everything wrong. They do some good things, the Boxing Board of Control, but they could be a lot better. And I think if they was answerable, they would do better. And that's where we've all got to look at and make sure that they're regulated. And like everyone else, we've all got people to answer to. They should have someone to answer to, and these people could maybe challenge them to start improving, and that's what we want. And
everyone wins in that case.
And there's going to be people where they're saying, "Oh, and he should have won, and they should have won," and that's good. And that's what we love about boxing. That you have got a different opinion, but when it's clear, it should be the right way, and that's the problem we've got in here now. That there's so many fights that they're going, well, he didn't win that fight, and everyone knows he didn't win that fight. But the three judges thought different, and that's the problem.
So coming towards the end, and there's one more subject that we want to talk about, which is emerging probably quicker than we all thought it would do. And that's the Saudi guys who are now really ploughing a lot of time, effort, money and passion into putting on really big spectacles and for boxing. What's your opinion on, how this is going to play out?
Yeah, when you look at football and the money they're throwing in to get a football, you can't see that taking off because it's different than boxing, but the way the last couple of shows that they're promoting, and they built the stadium just for the Tyson Fury and Enger fight, and then they put a fantastic heavyweight card on, and then all of a sudden they're announcing another card for December the 23rd, and then the Fury Usyk match, and then you hear how much money that fighters are getting paid, and the fact that the time zone is not that much different from what we've got over in Europe, and so it's accessible for a lot of people to watch it. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. My only problem with it is that the certain number of fighters who are earning that money will probably not fight over here again because, they'd rather fight once or twice a year and earn 10 times more money than what they would get for fighting over here. So I think it's going to change it in that way. But it is good for boxing that the boxers will start earning a lot more money. And as I said before, we just admire and appreciate what the boxers do. And, they're putting their lives at risk for our entertainment. It's great that they can make so much money out of it. And, it's funny what money can make people do, isn't it? Eddie Earns and Frank Warren, best mates.
Never thought I'd see that. I never thought I'd see that.
Yeah, but it's good that he's brought them together. But let's not forget about it. It's happened because of the money, and hopefully, they'll treat boxing as a serious business it is, and show a bit of loyalty to it, and it's not a phase for them. It's like, as I said, like the boxing, you can pick up and take fights over there and bring them back. I don't think they can do it with the football, but you never know. They've got enough money to do things, haven't they?
Do you think that the Saudi money is going to drip into this country, into the gyms, into the small shows like you do?
I'd very much doubt it. The way it's set up at the moment now, it's just like chosen events, isn't it? But it's one of those. They might decide that they'd like to put a development program in around the world, but it would be difficult for that to happen. And how they do it, I don't know. But in boxing, as long as you've got the money, you can get whatever fights you want. And if they've got the most money, and it seems like they have, they're going to get the best fights. And if it makes fights happen, like we're talking about AJ Wilder, aren't they? Which we talked about for ages, fight. But no one's been able to get it put together with their funds. It looks like that fight's going to happen, which again is good for the fans. And sometimes the fans get overlooked.
The only negative question I have, and I don't like being negative about anything, but it's a question that we should ask: what happens if they get bored and just walk away? What happens then all of a sudden, all those people that have been kind of put in that position with the finances, and all of a sudden they go back to, in effect, what we can do here in this country?
Well, I think they get back to reality, don't they? I don't see it as being a negative thing. It obviously be not good for them because they've lost something that they've been getting, but I'd look at it as a bonus that they've had that, because it is really and truthfully, it's not like real money. It's not something that you could generate over here on doing shows and getting site fees and everything like that. So it's not real money. It's mega money that they would have had whoever had it 1 fight, 2 fights, 3 fights. And obviously the promoters are making good money out of it as well, aren't they? So, everybody's on a win-win for that short period of time, if it is a short period. So they've got to look at that. They've had a boost, and then they can get back into the real world, because at the moment it is fantasy, but it's a fantasy that, if they commit to it, it could carry on.
Well, let's hope it does, because I think my personal view is I think that they'll go to a certain level with all these mega fights, and they will have to start dripping that money down. And I think that'll only benefit the boxers that are at that level where they might just jump up and, get opportunities. These guys will give them those opportunities with the money that actually could change their lives.
Yeah, well, it's possible that it could happen. But another way of looking at it is like, if the promoters are going to be making such good money on 3-4 shows a year over there, but they've still got a commitment to do the other 16 shows for the TVs over there, some of that money that they're generating from over there could be used to make the boxers over there fight more regular and be paid better as well. And if they're paying them better, they'll probably take more risks, which would mean better fights. So it could be really, really good if it's used in the right way. And as I say, I've had no involvement in any of the Saudi shows, but I've watched from the outside like a lot of people, and just think it's great and could be really, really good for boxing, and let's hope it is.
Well, I think that Steve Woods and VIP should be involved in that, because I think that would be a nice matchup I'd like to see.
Yeah, well, listen, you never know, do you? Think things can change overnight in life, can't they? And if we ever get a chance to do something like that, it would be great. And what I'd say is, share it all about. Yeah.
Well, listen, Steve, it's been absolutely a pleasure to chat to you and find out all about how you got to where you are now, and the sort of person that you've become. There's one theme that's kind of stuck all the way through this conversation, and something we kind of knew anyway, which is that all you've ever done is help people, and you do it very quietly, you do it very professionally, and you're a very decent and genuine man. So from us to you, and from all the boxers that you've ever helped, and all the staff that you've ever had, and all the people around you, we want to say thank you for the last 35 years of what you've done. We wish you the best of health and the most success, and we look forward to seeing the legacy that you're going to leave behind with your news. We look forward to the next few years of VIP shows, and I'm sure that every boxer that fights for you and has done will wish you the best as well.
Cheers, appreciate that. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers.